Dixon Ward, the Vice President of the Okanagan Hockey Group. I've been with the Okanagan Hockey Group now for 18 years. Prior to that, I finished a 12-year professional hockey career, 10 years in the National Hockey League, and transitioned right into the development business upon my retirement. Well, in our company, in the growth of our company over the years, I've filled many roles, from coaching to public relations to hockey camp development programming. Everything you can think of, I've done, and morphed into more of a high-level leadership position in the development of our staff, our coaches, our senior management group, our general managers, looking at organizational culture and character development. Yeah, as an organization, the Okanagan Hockey Group really, in a nutshell, focuses on using the game of hockey as a development tool for young athletes from the ages of 5 years old to 18 years old. And many different facets to our company, from full-on academic academy formats to summer hockey camps to on and off ice testing protocols. We use the game of hockey and the passion for the game to help kids develop both on and off the ice. Well, obviously, in our business and in my roles over the years, I've come into contact with thousands and thousands of young hockey players, and try to understand the best and most efficient ways in which to develop these athletes to help them reach their potential and hopefully exceed their potential. And it's become quite evident to me over the last couple of years that everything that you can do on the ice or in the gym or in the classroom can't really take full effect unless there's a whole package of character development involved in that. And part of our mandate is to help build the character and value systems of our athletes, to prepare them to be successful in the world once they leave here. And so I became very interested in understanding not only what character means, but how can we develop it, and can we develop it? And so that's prompted the deep dive into this area, which has been quite interesting and quite educational for me. Well, to be honest with you, for obvious reasons, the character and the cultural discussion around the game of hockey has come to the forefront over the last few years. And so as an organizational leader, our company knows full well that we have the opportunity to help change some of that narrative. And so when we dive into the character side of things, which is going to dictate our behaviors, our actions, our attitude, our value systems, and really dig into our moral fabric as human beings and as a group, it became apparent to me that in order for us to develop the kids, which is our mandate, we need to know what we're talking about, and we need to understand our own character first and foremost as leaders before we can even sit with a young person and start to educate them about their own character. So I felt it was important that we start at the very top of our organization to make sure that we all understood what we were talking about, understanding how we can develop it, how we can help develop our own internal character so that can cascade down into our athletes. Well, I think first and foremost, it's just a self-identification process of really what it is that we think we are compared to what we actually are. And that's what I've really learned through this character development process, is understanding that how we see ourselves or how we assume other people see us isn't necessarily the way it is. And so truly understanding who we are, why we make the decisions we do, what are our motivations in every decision that we make? Are they for the betterment of the group? Are they for the betterment of ourselves individually? Is it a facade? What is the motivation for all of our decisions that we go through on a daily basis, and how we behave, how we interact, how we communicate? And so if we can really pinpoint how to self-identify, it can help all of us make better decisions. And when we all make better decisions leading to the same goals, that's what creates culture. And it's not manufactured, it's authentic. And that's the root of all of this, is trying to get to an authentic part where everything's positive in the way in which we approach things. Everything follows the same value system. And if you do that over a long period of time, then the people that surround you will just learn from osmosis, in my opinion. And that's how you build culture. And it starts from the grassroots all the way up. Well, I think first and foremost, it's really defining what character means. The game of hockey and the culture of hockey has always used the word character in the evaluation process of any athlete. And do we really know what that means? I know what it means in the hockey language, but it's very superficial, to be honest, in the hockey world over time. Character just meant have high commitment and high drive. And when we started to dive into all of the key elements of character and the dimensions that are involved in it, those are just but a few of the important parts of it. And so learning how to understand what the entire gamut that character runs and how to identify all of those different areas within your own personal life really gives you an idea of how to manage and balance them together to form what we believe to be a very strong character-based program. And that's what I've learned the most, is that there's so many dimensions that are all interconnected, and we can't just rely on one or two of them to evaluate anyone. Well, the humanity piece is something I've been really interested in even before we started this process. I always felt that traditionally we have a lot of hardworking, intelligent, committed people in the hockey world that care about the right things. But a big part of transferring that information and that experience gets lost without the humanity piece, and understanding your audience and understanding the individuals that you're trying to help develop on a daily basis, and understanding their emotions, their thoughts, their mental well-being, and how they interact with your communication. And that's become really important. We can have all the messages in the world that we want, but if we can't translate them into understandable bits and pieces that people can take on a daily basis, through our humanity and through our understanding and empathy and all the things that we need, there's a lot of information that goes by the wayside. And if we can be efficient in the way in which we communicate through our humanity and understanding of people, the more information that they're going to receive and the more benefit they're going to get from it. So that's where I really tied in the humanity piece and understanding. You can have all those things, but you can still maintain your level of accountability and your expectations without sacrificing those things. There's a big piece of that humanity needs to take part in. Well, again, it's truly understanding who it is you are, or more importantly, who it is you want to be. Again, we're always striving to be better, and that's the foundation of everything that we do, is the constant quest for excellence, which we will never achieve, but the quest is the key. And we can only do that if we truly understand where we are today. And so the integrity piece for us is really breaking things down to look at where we fit into that curve, and what areas that we need to adjust in order to get the maximum benefit. And once we truly understand ourselves, have our own internal integrity, then our behaviors and decision processes become very easy, in the sense that we're going to make good decisions based on what's going to be best for us, but more importantly, what's best for the people around us. And in this sport, the people around us are paramount to our own success. And so having that integrity and that consistency in your belief system on a daily basis, and the ability to look internally and understand, okay, I need work here, and that's okay, because we all need work in certain areas, and not being afraid to look in the mirror and say, yeah, I need to be better at this, or here's a way in which I can improve this area. That alone takes a tremendous amount of integrity and self-accountability, which we think is one of the most important parts of the development process for a young hockey player. is their own self-accountability and understanding where they fit in the whole scheme of things. Well, there certainly is, and is not only athletes, but people that surround athletes, whether it's the media, whether it's governing bodies, whether it's coaches, management. This idea of humility is a very interesting area, because for most of us, it's very easy to see where humility lies and where it doesn't. But for many people internally, and probably all of us at some point or another, miss the fact of where we sit in the whole humility conversation. And when we think that we know everything there is to know, and when we stop trying to learn every day, and when we stop admitting to ourselves and to other people that we're not perfect, that's where we really can rely on humility to help us. And so the strive for perfection is a lofty goal. The achievement of perfection only happens in someone's own consciousness that lacks humility, because it doesn't exist. And so those that think they have achieved it have lost the humility balance in their life. And those that understand that the most important thing is trying to achieve it, and understanding full well that we're going to fail a lot. That's where humility helps you feel better about your process, because you understand that that's the most important part of this whole process, is the self-identification of where I fit. I'm not perfect, but I certainly would love to be, and I'm going to work hard to get there. But in the meantime, I'm just going to fail along the way and keep learning from it. And once you understand humility, you'll understand how easy it is to learn from your mistakes. Well, for a guy like Wayne, who I was fortunate enough to have a chance to play alongside with the Los Angeles Kings, a guy I grew up idolizing as a kid in Edmonton, Alberta, and watching his rise to stardom, and following everything that he did when I was a teenager, and listening to every interview we ever got and every interaction. Back in those days, we didn't have the social media contact that we do now, but and truly understanding that his whole motivation in life was to enjoy the game of hockey and to surround himself with other people that enjoyed it as much as he did. It wasn't about the accolades that he received. It wasn't about setting records. It wasn't about any of those. Those are the result of all of his actions, but that wasn't his goal. And when I had a chance to meet him and play with him, I was somewhat worried, as we all are when we're about to meet our heroes, whether or not I was going to be disappointed or not, because all those attributes away from the rink that I assumed that he had were a big part of why he was my hero. It's easy to see what he did in performance. That was front and center, but who he was as a person really intrigued me. And so when I had a chance to meet him, I was blown away that he was even more of a role model than I even expected him to be. And it all revolves around his humility, his lack of ability to want to talk about himself, his ability to change conversations to talk about you instead of him. The understanding that everybody knew he was the greatest, and he knew everybody knew he was the greatest. He certainly didn't have to tell anybody. His accomplishments spoke for themselves, and he wasn't really interested in that. He was enjoying his process every single day. He was enjoying his teammates every single day, and he wanted to make sure that they enjoyed him. And his ability to deflect any attention away from himself did not hinder him from putting his skates on and being the best player every game. He still had a tremendous competitive flair to him. He wanted to play hard. He wanted to win every hockey game. He wanted to be great every time he played. But he didn't have to speak to it. He didn't have to think that way. He just had to perform that way. And so I learned a lot from him in his ability to deflect attention, to take responsibility, to understate his stature in the game and let other people talk for him. Well, yeah, as I've said, the biggest misconception about character is that it isn't defined by your drive and your courage every day. Drive and courage are a small part of it, and they're an important part of it if they're well balanced and they're well managed. And they can't be well balanced or well managed without the other key elements that are involved in character. So the misconception in character is it's a word that's used in place of someone's determination of what makes a good hockey player. And when we talk about good hockey players, we cannot talk about that without overlaying the quality of person that we're talking about. And so the character part of it, which comes naturally to many of the greatest players in history, who all have that in common, and all have different talent sets, and all are entirely different athletes, but all achieve the highest level of success you can achieve. They all had the one thing in common, which was strong character. And so you cannot achieve the greatest things within your field without having it. I truly believe that. And the misconception is that there's only a few pieces to it. It is a very comprehensive package that you need to have. And a lot of it is natural in some people, and a lot of it can be developed in other people. But the true understanding of all of the elements and how they fit together is the basis and the foundation for everything. And that allows us to be able to reevaluate every single day how we're going to go about trying to improve those things. And if we can do that, then the people that surround us are going to get better. And our goal in life is to make young people better through the game of hockey. And the character needs to be a big part of that. Well, there's multiple ways to do it. And the more I think about it, strategically, the more options become available. The obvious one is to observe and identify on daily interaction. But there's also situations and unique opportunities that come up, and usually they're in an adverse environment. And a lot of people talk about how we deal with adversity is the true test of character, and which is true to a certain extent. We can really, character isn't only there when things are bad, however. How we deal with success is as much a true test of character as how we deal with failure, and sometimes even more. And when I talk about Wayne Gretzky and his success, it would have been easy for him to not deal with that effectively, but he dealt with success better than any player I've ever seen. The fact of the matter is to not only look at a person on a daily basis, but to really evaluate how they deal with adverse or successful situations that are outside the norm. It's easy to get comfortable on a day-to-day basis and show good character. But when a unique event happens, how we go through those events, how we deal with conflict, how we deal with accolades, how we deal with failure, how we deal with despair and sadness, and all of these things and all these emotions that run the gamut of all of our lives on a daily and weekly and monthly and yearly basis. How we deal with those consistently over time is a true test of character. And the real evaluation at the end of the day, and the end of the day may be in 50 years from now as an individual, is were we consistent in our approach? So a true test of character for anybody, good or bad character, is if you're predictable in the way in which you react in certain situations. And we want to make sure we're consistent in reacting in the proper way. And that really defines character in its simplest terms in my mind. Well, character can be developed like any other skill that we work on. It's no different than skating or shooting or puck handling or running or a golf swing. It's consistent, repetitive behaviors, constant correction, and constant evaluation. Over time creates habits. And the only thing that we're trying to do is make every good decision you make in your life habitual. But that takes time, effort, repetition, and constant feedback. And so character is not unlike any other skill. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency. And over time it becomes habitual. And I truly believe that's the case. Well, unlike any sport, the coach is the most important piece to this entire puzzle. Organization can give guidance, can provide structure, can provide logistical and operational support, but the coach on a day-to-day interaction has got the most voice for any young person and becomes the most important person in that kid's life, every interaction that happens. So understanding their own character and living to the standards of their own internal character is paramount in getting the respect that they need to get in order to reach a young person. Especially in today's day and age, it is a very difficult world in which these young people are living in, with so many distractions and so much information that we don't know what's real and what's not real most of the time. And so for us and our coaches to understand their own character and to care about their own character and how they are portrayed by the young people that they're trying to develop is so important. And once they have that relationship, and once they have been identified in that way, their messaging to their kids becomes very important for that kid to understand how they can improve their own character. I always talk to our coaches about the only thing you can try to do as a coach in our environment is become a legacy coach. And a legacy coach, in my opinion, is that coach where 15 years down the road, that kid comes back every time he's in town to sit down and have a coffee with you and tell you how much they appreciated your time together. That's our only pat on the back that we're going to get. And that's maybe the greatest pat on the back you could ever want as a coach. All the championships aside and all the success that your individual athletes have had as they moved on are nearly as important as that phone call inviting you to their wedding 15 years later. That's what we have to look forward to. And that starts with the character in which we have individually and what we've passed on to our kids. I learned that from my dad. My dad's 85 years old. He was a school teacher for 40 years. Last summer, we were sitting on my front deck in the springtime, and my neighbor had a friend over. And the neighbor says, "Hey, is that your dad?" And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, I have a friend here that your dad taught 35 years ago. This guy's like 50 years old now. He comes over to my house and he shakes and hugs my dad and said, 'You don't have a clue what kind of impact you've had on my life when we were in grade 7 and grade 8. And so I learned the importance of that from my father. That's who he was. That's the way he interacted with his students on a daily. That's how much he cared about them on a daily basis. At 50 years later, they come back and appreciate all that he did, which is amazing. That's a legacy teacher. Well, I mean, as an athlete for myself, looking back on all of the things that I went through in my life, I rarely think about any on-ice success that I ever had. Or do I remember most of it? I remember my coaches and the people that are around me, and I remember certain conversations that I had 30 years ago and what they meant to me, and good and bad. Those are the things that you remember in the core of you forever. You don't remember the on-field or on-ice success that you had very long after it's gone, because it doesn't mean anything to anybody but you, maybe. What means everything to you is the impact that somebody else has had on your life and help get you to strive to be like them. Obviously, character matters. I don't think anybody will argue that. How important they put that into the bigger picture will be based on your individual belief system. But what's more important, in my opinion, through this process is the focus on character in a group setting promotes accountability, but it also promotes a motivation for me to show better character in front of my peers, because they can recognize and understand it. And knowing that everybody in your peer group is thinking about those things helps you make decisions on how you're going to handle each specific situation, which is beneficial. And so when we're in the management capacity, understanding that my staff is also thinking about each dimension of character. My behavior, my communication, my interaction sometimes is guided by my character traits that I want to portray, which is a positive thing. And so that's been a big thing. We're talking about it in the office. We're talking about it when we get together. So it's promoting conversation about good things. And when you can promote conversation about good things, then there's benefit. And so that's where I've really seen a difference through this process. And we're very happy with the engagement that we have. People are interested in it. It is a very interesting topic for sure. It's educational. It is measurable, which everything that we do in our lives, we always ask, is it measurable? Whether that's business function, whether that's development, whether that's wins, losses, what can we measure here? And we feel that we're going to get to a place here where we're going to be able to create a measurable data point that says you're improving in character. And once we determine how we want that to look, then we can truly implement it program-wide for everyone in a step-by-step process that we can build out for all of our people. And if we do it right, in the organization that we have, I know for a fact that we can affect the broader culture of hockey as a whole. And one of the real positive things that have come out of this is the feedback that I've gotten from the people involved, for two reasons. One is I spearheaded this project, and to have people say that it's been very valuable to them makes me feel like it's worthwhile. Anything you spearhead and anything that you want to implement, you want people to buy into it. So that's number one. From my standpoint, I felt motivated that this is making a positive impact on the people that I want to share this with, and for them to be engaged in it and to internalize their own process and to share that has been very valuable, because it also provides an environment of safety. So we're talking about character, we're talking about this program, we're talking about all the things we're learning together, but that also opens the door for other discussions outside of this, which can make us all stronger in any organization. The collaboration piece that we're working through now is going to be monumental in the continued development of our organization, and to understand what collaboration really means, because it's a word that everyone's going to define differently. And how do we maximize that? Because we need that. We have so many amazing people that we can draw from. And how do we encourage them to be part of our process moving forward? It's going to be a big project for us in a very positive way. So I'm really excited about this. I think about this stuff all the time. How can we, not only how can I, develop myself to be better, but how can I help facilitate other people's self-improvement? And how can they help me? It's been really good, and we're all very thankful for the opportunity that we had to get involved in this process together with you guys, and your guys' facilitation of this program has been fantastic, and the input from yourself and Mary and Greg through the sessions have been extremely important to keep us all on the same page and engaged in the process. No, I just would like to reiterate to anyone that's interested in going down this path, is how important it is to truly understand the complexities and the sheer volume of information that is available in pinpointing your own process and building and developing better character. And to not, the one thing I learned through this process is to not get negative about yourself when you see weaknesses, because we all together are going to have them. But more importantly, to look at those as opportunities to be even better than you are. And so that's a real good learning curve for us. A lot of us don't want to admit a lot of our weaknesses, but truly we know what they are. No, I don't think anybody's surprised when we do our self-evaluations, but it's really good to see them when they're clear. And also see a clear pathway out of that behavior, which is even more important than recognizing. Because our motto around here is we don't have problems, we have solutions. And it's easy to recognize problems. The hard part in the work is how do we solve them? And so all of these things are an opportunity for us to solve our own problems, how big or however small they are. We always have that opportunity. So that's important for people to understand that character is complex, but absolutely understandable, and you can absolutely develop it, in my opinion.